Hi friends, and welcome to my channel. This is a little corner of the universe where I do some armchair sharing of insight, and I'm glad that you're here. And today, I'm wondering, how much suffering do we need to do? Well, we're going to do as much suffering as it takes. And how much does it take? It takes as much as it needs to until it no longer is needed. So, if you're interested in how much suffering it takes, stick around, and hopefully I'll shed some light on this interesting topic. How much suffering do we need? Many of us don't understand how much suffering it takes. Of course, the question is, how much suffering does it take for what? Well, basically, it takes enough suffering to understand that love is the only engine that drives the universe. And nobody wants to hear something so simple. But when you get it, when you begin to see it, you can't unsee it. So suffering is a tool to teach hard-headed individuals who believe themselves to be bound up in a bag of skin. And suffering is a prison that doesn't have a prisoner. It comes from individuals who believe love can be carried around in a vessel. Suffering comes from people who believe in fractions that don't have a relative wholeness. You can't have fractions without there being a whole number. So suffering comes from a misperception of segments, division, separation, and the idea that self and other are different. But you can always sense that self and other are me and myself. You can sense this in yourself. You can never do away with that duality of me and myself until you stop talking to yourself. But I talk to myself all the time, and it's really an interesting thing. Who's talking and who's listening? I make myself laugh all the time. Who's the comedian and who's the audience? But I also have lied to myself, tricked myself, betrayed myself, and misunderstood myself. And that's where suffering comes in. And there's a wonderful Zen saying that when the student is ready, the master will appear. So when suffering comes to an end, the master appears. You will have been let in on a secret to the universe, that there is a lawful nature to what makes it work. And how to best use what you've been given. And suffering comes to an end when you stop believing in free will and control. And start understanding that what you reap is what you sow, but not in a punitive way. If you can understand that what you reap is what you sow, you start to clean up your act. You start to realize that that's true, that the universe is a boomerang or a reflection or a direct implicitness according to your thought, deed, word, action and judgment. And the only way to understand suffering is to do some big time self-reflection and to reconcile self and other within yourself. So you can commune with yourself. You can spend time with yourself, or you could keep good company with yourself. That's possible. A lot of us do not keep good company with ourselves, so we cling to others because we misperceive them as being the source of our strength and peace. We cling to situations and money and stuff because we think that is the source of our safety. So suffering comes from the misperception that there is something called an outer source. And there isn't. Feelings and thoughts and words do not exist out there. So this begins at home by having a peaceful relationship with yourself. But you are a singular creature. So this gets complicated. So first, the self and other have to exist in a concept before self and other become one. And so what you realize, there's a wonderful statement that's often said at weddings, and it's, what God has joined, let no man put asunder. Which means you can't break the bond of self and other. And so you have to reconcile this me and myself before you'll ever reconcile me and you, the listener, the critic, the judge, other people. So you have to stop hating yourself, stop running from yourself, stop pretending that you have control over yourself. Stop feeling like your choices are choices. There are no choices when self and other become one. You become a choiceless, helpless agent that has no free will. You become, it's funny because you feel like you're a prisoner, then you realize you're a prisoner. You're a prisoner to love. You're a prisoner to the unconditional nature, which is simply just revealing itself. You're coming home. So suffering gets so acute and so it's intolerable. When suffering becomes insufferable, you're going to start looking for different ways to relieve yourself than trying to advance into your circumstance. That's what happened to me. I was wanting to advance. I didn't understand what that meant. Why did I have this feeling to advance in life? But I couldn't advance in the traditional ways. I had to advance by going inward. You'll suffer so much that you have no more choice but to go in and be self-reflective and to ponder the question, who am I? To which there is no answer. The question is the answer. And so self and other become unified. What you thought of as a God in the sky or a sinister universe or your higher power is you. But that doesn't give you dominion over over nature. You can't make the sun rise, yet you're making the sun rise. So suffering comes from people who think they are making the sun rise. So they put their hand under the sunset or the sunrise in the morning and they push the sun up. That's what toiling is. It's making it rain. So if you're in a situation where you need money or stuff or a healing or something like that, you realize it rains when it rains, but yet I'm making it rain. but I'm not making it rain on my own efforts. I'm not making anything. And that's what spiritual freedom is realizing that there is no central control unit in the body. There's no entity in there. There's no captain in the universe. And there's no devil in the ground. And so you realize that the unity of consciousness is everywhere, and it can't be separated. There's no such thing as my consciousness, or my mind, or my words, and my choices. But yet there are, because I chose to be born into this individuation. Although I don't live here. That's weird. I was partially incarnated into this figure. But the figure has figured it out through suffering. So your suffering is this point where you want to die. You would prefer to die than to live. That's a good place to be, by the way. Because it's going to open insight into you. And insight closes the gap of duality. That good and evil are two poles of the same energy. And the thing that drives the whole thing is love. That's the engine that drives the universe. And you can't deny it once you see it. You become more loving, more forgiving. So when self and other are recognized in the so-called individual, when you realize I can love myself, I've been denying myself, I've been ignoring myself, I've been pretending to be someone I'm not, I have tried to add to myself, I have tried to take away from myself, suffering, 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 suffering. It's not until you recognize the wholeness of love, the truth of being, and you drop into the stillness and realize nothing's missing, nothing's fractal. There's no fractions in the universe without wholeness. And those two things, partiality and wholeness, go hand in hand. If you align with partiality, you suffer. Because you see yourself different as everybody else. Oh, me, I'm different. I'm special. Me and my problems. Me and what's missing. Me fundamentally wrong. Me incapable. Me limited. You see? And that's where suffering comes from. And ignorance. So, self and other realign. They don't necessarily integrate, because I still feel like I'm being taught by the master. I am the master, but I'm still learning from the master myself. My life, things out there are teaching me, and things in here are teaching me. So the outward God and the inward God are teaching. Although there's no outward God. Yeah, there's an intelligence everywhere. If you open yourself up to it, you realize consciousness extends outside of the body. Life extends outside of this timeline you seem to be trapped in. So you're not trapped in it. You see? So the teacher in me is teaching the student in me. Together. That's weird. I am a parent and a child. I am a shepherd and a sheep. I'm a savior and a damsel in distress. I am solving my own problems. I'm a problem solver and a problem maker. So I'm reaping what I sow. But I'm aligning more with the parent, with the higher sense of love, with the wholeness. I'm beginning to see the master plan, what drives things forward, and that I am wholeness, and that I am perfect, and that I'm not making anything happen, yet I am. When we say, hey, you're making these things happen, It's the same way as saying, I am making the sun. The sun's about to come up. It's almost 7 a.m. here. I'm about to make the sunrise. I'm so excited. You want to sit here and watch me make the sunrise? Okay. And it's basically that. And I love to see the sunrise. Because somehow I'm implicit in that thing. So I'm implicit in all my circumstances, even if I don't have money or a mate or hair. I'm implicit in all of it. Meaning I chose it in the same way that I'm choosing these words. I don't know where these words come from. I sat down to do this meditation and I knew I was going to talk about suffering. I had no idea exactly where it was going to go, but I'm going to go back and watch this video and learn from it. See, I create content for myself. That's because there's a completeness within me. I realize I'm the sole provider, I'm the sole needer, I'm the sole problem solver and maker. All of it is in me. So there's a part of me I don't know. There's a part of me that's mysterious. There's a greater part of me that is learning more and more and more. I think of myself as the event horizon. And this is getting into the preeminence of your higher nature, is that you're where the observable universe meets the unobservable universe. And there is this expansion where you are just unfolding into yourself, alpha and omega together. And as you get into the higher realms of understanding and the open nature of consciousness, you just become more and more loving and more free. And one of the last places that this solves itself is in the reconciliation between not only self and other within, but self and other between me and you, the listener, the critic, the subscriber, the viewer, the cashier at the store, the ex-lover, all the people out there. That's what love is. We accept them as who we are. That's weird. The rapist, the molester, the murderer, the so-called political opponent, it's hard to accept that that's you. But when you do, suffering just ceases because there's no opponent. I don't know where this comes from, but it's somewhere in the Bible. It says, if God is for us, who can be against us? When divisions cease, when fractions don't exist, when wholeness is revealed, when love is put into practice, that's when suffering ends. And love is not clingy, dominant, none of that. It's humane. It's non-aggressive, non-confrontational, completely blind, impersonal. There's no occupant in the bag of skin. There's no consciousness in the brain. Love cannot be carried in a vessel. So you and I are interconnected, and I don't care who you are. I can honestly say I love you because I feel that love in me. I'm completely and autonomously loving, yet blind. And I don't care what you've done in your life. I don't care if you're a prisoner, a captive, a tax collector, a prostitute, a child molester. You can forgive yourself for all of that. The Apostle Paul was a wretched person. Terrible. And he's venerated as one of the greatest apostles to ever live. Nobody's put a scarlet letter on him as a terrible murderer and prosecutor of Christians. But he did reap what he sowed. He got put in prison and he was put to death. But we all come here to be put to death. We've all come here to die. And you're going to die to multiple illusions, including the bodily illusion that this vehicle contains me. How can love be contained? That's the good news, and I'm not even a Christian. I'm preaching the good news over here in my little armchair. So if love can't be contained in a vessel, it certainly was not solely in a person named Jesus. There was no individual. There is none. If there's no individual in him, there's no individual in me, there's no individual in the Buddha, there's no individual in Eckhart Tolle, and these people rightfully admit this. Even Sam Harris, a declared atheist, is talking about awakening and spirituality without religion. There is a way to be free. But again, the prison has no prisoner. And suffering is needed until you've said, I've had enough. And then you ask, who am I? And you get still. And you know. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you enjoyed this insight. I certainly did. I'm going to go back and watch it and take careful notes over the teacher within, because I'm also a student. And if you've enjoyed it, please check out my blog. It's called mymorningmotivator.com.